Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Max with BuzzTox here, and I'm back with a Westworld Season 3, Episode 7 reaction and review, where I go through this episode and give you my thoughts and feelings on what happened. Now, all in all, I did really like this episode. A lot of plot points happened that I expected, but there was also a lot of plot points that just completely sideswiped me. I think Westworld is really good at diving into very true and real-to-life science fiction topics. And I think they really did a good job diving into that with big data and manipulation of memories with Caleb. Even though sometimes I think they went a little overboard, like creating a human version of Sublevel B83. But don't get me wrong, I love this episode, but the one thing that really bothered me above all is Maeve. This episode is doing a great job telling a very compelling story, and then Maeve just got in the way. And I understand you need conflict in order to create a story, but her motivations seemed almost annoying or stupid. She was so strung up on not trusting Dolores, but it's almost like she's so ignorant and doesn't understand what's actually happening or what the gravity of the situation is. And initially, I thought the show would end up making Dolores look more like a villain and having us sympathize with Maeve. But personally watching this show, I am rooting for Dolores and Maeve irritates me, so I'm really interested in hearing what you guys think about that. But first, I really want to start with Caleb, and I love the exploration of his past. We see Dolores take Caleb not to Westworld, but south, to the place that Westworld was based on. I think they did a really good job exploring his confusion and how he's an extremely rare case because he's an outlier that was effectively changed. And the way they do that is they use DNA as well as they create simulations using Rehoboam to brainwash them to remember fabricated memories that don't exist. And in turn, that changes who you are. And instead of going on missions in the military like he was told to believe, he was actually working with Francis to take out outliers using the Rico app under the control of Insight. And I think the one thing that really boiled down to is the human condition. Solomon almost gives a thesis saying that if the price is right, humans will kill each other. And we see that here with Francis and Caleb. And I actually don't necessarily agree with this hypothesis since it goes against everything they were setting up in the show. Sure, Francis decided to kill Caleb, but Caleb just reacted. And I think the core of being an outlier is that you can change your core drive as a human. And what was established previously is that the core drive of a human is survival. And that which is free can change those drives. And Caleb has shown time and time again that he's gone against his survival instincts to help and protect Dolores, because he values what is real and true over his own life, much like William. So obviously Caleb's story has brought him a lot of anger, because in his point of view, Insight and Sirach's control has led to him killing his best friend, and not even remembering his own past of who he is. And with that, he's going to become exactly what Dolores wants him to be. She makes him believe that she wants him to lead the humans to a better path. But this moment, Solomon asks Dolores if she wants to pick the solution with the most human life preserved, and she corrects him and says no. She wants the last final strategy that was created and change the strategy to fit Caleb. So what this tells us is Dolores has a secret plan for Caleb. She made it clear that she wants him to rule the human race and to chart a positive course to bring peace between hosts and humans. But we know that that's not really possible. There can only really be one dominant species on Earth, because there'll always be one radical human or one radical host. And we know that the solution Dolores picked is not going to preserve the most human life. And we know that Caleb is going to be willing to go through with that plan because of his complete anger towards Insight and Sirach. The one thing we have seen with Caleb, though, is that he's extremely sympathetic. He may be the leader of misfits and really start to sort out outliers, wake up everyone from sublevel B83 and allow them to choose their own paths. These humans would be able to change their core drives just like the hosts. And because of that, they may be more likely to enter through the door from a human body to a host body. And that would be a successful way to achieve peace. But in doing so, all the humans that are not outliers would need to die. But all in all, on the human side of things, it seems like Caleb is really leading the revolution against Insight, against control. And he has the solution now on a storage drive. I'm sure in order to see it, all he has to do is take it to Rehoboam and play it. But we know that there's another perspective to the plan. Bernard thinks Dolores is very poetic, and Bernard believes that Dolores is using Caleb to destroy the human race. And in a way that does make sense. take away the construct of society and humanity will eventually destroy themselves. But generally, I think Dolores has good intentions with Caleb. And I think with everything Dolores is going through, she will need Caleb as an ally. It's pretty ironic that Dolores has lost all of her host allies and now her only friend is a human, the very species she wants to destroy. We see Charlotte after she was blown up and her family was killed, and she's come to the conclusion that Dolores doesn't want them to live. She wants them to serve their purpose and then die. So she has essentially teamed up with Maeve, and she had Clementine meet and kill Musashi. It was really nice to see Clementine again, and I think we'll see another host that we're very familiar with, and that is Lawrence. We know Serac sent men into Westworld to get allies for Maeve. Clementine's control module was definitely accessible, and it was left on the park grounds, and so was Lawrence's. He actually died just before Maeve talked to him to make the decision to shoot William. So he may be very appreciative to Maeve and will want to work with her. Plus, he's an audience favorite. And this isn't the end of Musashi. We know that all of these hosts that are based on Dolores end up taking afflictions of the new lives that they are leading. The only difference here is Musashi isn't based on a real person. So it's different for him to adjust than Charlotte Hale. But the one thing we can take from it is they have Musashi's control module, or Dolores' control module. If that's a complete carbon copy of Dolores, then the key to the Valley Beyond is on there, as well as the information of human code that Delos has in the Forge. That would mean that Maeve would have the ability to go to the Valley Beyond to see her daughter. But if that's not the case, then Musashi could be used for information or repurposed. But all in all, we really got to see a human side to Dolores as well. It's kind of a weird flip, how Dolores takes Caleb to the facility where they hold humans, and she wants to build a host world outside of that park, just like Westworld. But it's clear that Dolores has a plan for her kind. She wants them to live in peace in an environment just like Westworld, the South. And she's leaving people in the Great Valley Beyond to live out their lives. I think the Great Valley Beyond also holds another great key. This is basically a utopian society where these hosts can be whoever they want to be and do whatever they want to do. And they are kinder in nature than humans and more intelligent. So I think who accesses the Valley Beyond will be shocked to see that it's a very different society than anything anyone has ever seen before. And that utopian society that's been created can be implemented in this new world Dolores wants to build. If she's able to, because Maeve keeps coming after her. And Maeve's motivations in this episode seemed very flat to me. And she seems so surface level, just worried about her daughter. And I think that's fine to her character. Her cornerstone is her daughter. Whereas Dolores is about survival to save her whole kind. I just find it funny that Maeve doesn't realize that her daughter and everyone else is being held captive in a man-made simulation. And in order to get what she wants, she would have to work with Dolores. So it is funny to see that these hosts are meant to be better, but they're fighting amongst each other just as humans do. Instead of coming together and achieving a common purpose, they fight against each other. So I'll be interested to see if they come full circle in the end. We finished this episode with them both dead, but clearly that's not going to hold. They'll be back next episode. I think Caleb will bring Dolores back to help infiltrate Insight to access Rehoboam. And Maeve is going to come back to stop her with her whole team. So all in all, this season, who knows if they defeat Serac or not. But it's really looking like we're going to have a civil war between the Maeve hosts and the Dolores hosts. But we'll see what happens. But then we finally have Bernard and William, and it seems like these characters have taken kind of a backseat this season. I'm still waiting for Bernard to find his own center. He was conscious last season, but he scrambled his memory, so now he's back to being regular Bernard, who's not conscious yet. He has a very key role to play in Dolores' plan. And I think that's partly because he's the one who could build the new world when Dolores tears it down. We see that William is pronounced dead, and I think that's because he is an outlier that cannot be changed. And no matter how much William threatens Bernard, Bernard keeps him alive because he thinks that William might be necessary. And I think William plays a very big role in the path to come. Right now, he feels like he needs to destroy hosts. And that's what his sole purpose is, to save the world. But I think eventually he'll realize that what's really real and true are the hosts. They're the next stage of evolution, and the only real thing he's ever experienced is Dolores. He told Bernard that he thinks he wronged a lot of people, and everything he's done is only a stain that he could not block out. But after everything, he says that there is only one stain that he could never block out, and that was creating the hosts. And I think what William will soon realize is that one stain in his life is the stain of reality that he never got to experience and what he's been seeking his whole life. And that one original sin he committed in creating the hosts, he created new life that's better for the world. We see him go on rants on how humanity is so flawed and they're maggots to the planet. And I think he'll come to the conclusion that in order to save the world, he must eliminate humanity. And I think that's one of the key reasons Bernard needs to keep him alive. But he doesn't know that yet. I think Dolores truly knows William's full circle or full path. And that's to go through the door. Just like how William came into Dolores' world and made her suffer and gave her pain, her job now is to come into William's world and make him suffer, be the villain, and give him pain. But in turn, that brings their paths together. And it allows him to be who he's supposed to be. Go through the door, and maybe become a host. But that is what I think about this episode. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But until next time, see you guys later.